Djinn, scary creatures from another dimension that can enter a person or inhabit an object and interact with humans, although you might be familiar with some of them being portrayed as magical genies in Disney's Aladdin. In actuality, they're much more sinister than that. In reality, Islamic tradition depicts jinn as evil, malignant spirits that feed on human emotions. Even though they may appear in different forms, from harmless animals to beautiful humans, their intentions are always bad. These evil beings can enter humans, influence their actions, and lead them down a path of destruction. They can also harm humans physically and mentally, causing pain, illness, and madness. Unlike the fictionalized versions we see in movies, real-life jinn are depicted as vengeful, deceptive, and malicious entities that seek to cause chaos and suffering. Their powers are vast and they're relentless in their pursuit of domination and control. The internet is full of stories about these evil things, some of which come from people claiming they encountered one themselves. One such story was shared on Reddit by a user named Nuth. This horrifying experience is commonly referred to as the Djinn Bride story. And if you want to hear the full version, keep watching. The journey around 2 years ago, the narrator decided to rent a small house after going through a messy divorce and getting burned out from his job. Looking for somewhere peaceful to get away from everything, he found a small house near the edge of a remote village in the mountains of Morocco. It seemed perfect. The house was cheap, simple, and quiet. Everything he needed to start anew. The only problem was the owners had left suddenly and left most of their stuff behind. Plus, the lady who handed him the keys refused to make eye contact with him and warned him not to go near the well behind the house, telling him no matter what he heard at night, he must stay indoors. Of course, our protagonist didn't listen and dismissed her words as superstition. The first night passed without incident. The narrator slept peacefully to the sound of the wind and felt at ease for the first time in a long time. But around 3 a.m., he woke up to a strange sound, like something wet slapping against the stone floor. Getting up, he went to the window and saw a large frog in the courtyard. It was bloated and its skin was almost translucent. But what really caught his attention were its eyes. They looked human. To be honest, the sight was so bizarre that he just stared at it, which caused the frog to blink at him. Needless to say, he should have closed the curtains and prayed, but instead, he just kept staring at the weird frog. The unnatural bride. The following night, the narrator woke up to the same wet slapping sound. This time he saw the same frog sitting on the roof, but as he watched it jumped off the roof and disappeared. He wasn't sure if he should be relieved or scared, but either way, he decided to close the curtains and go back to sleep. But yet again, around 3 in the morning, he was woken up by a knock on the door. He opened it and found no one. However, when he turned around, he saw a woman in a white bridal dress standing in the courtyard. She was old and stained with mud and something darker. Her face was covered with a thin veil, but he could see her lips moving as she recited something. It sounded like a distorted version of an After she knocked on the door a couple of times, she started scratching it, shaken and confused. The narrator started reciting Ayat al-Kursi and the scratching stopped. The villagers warning the next day. The narrator went into the village to find out who the mysterious woman was. He spoke to a man at the local mosque who told him that she had been haunting the area for a long time. The woman, according to the villagers, had been engaged to marry a man from the village, but her fiancé died days before the wedding. Consumed with grief, she locked herself in a room and never came out. They say she practiced forbidden rituals in her final days, hoping to bring her fiancé back. Eventually, she disappeared without a trace. No one had seen her since, except for those who had been unlucky enough to stumble upon her. The villagers warned the narrator that he had been marked and needed to leave immediately. According to what he was told, when someone sees a woman in white 3 times, she chooses them as her groom. The marriage ritual. Despite the warnings, the narrator stayed in the house for one more night. He tried everything he could think of, but nothing seemed to stop her from coming. That night he was woken up by the same scratching sound and turned to find the Djinn Bride standing next to his bed. She looked even more ghastly than before, and he realized that he had only seen her twice. He had actually seen her 3 times, including the time when he acknowledged her as a woman and not just a figment of his imagination. Since he had accepted her as a real person, she considered their marriage to be binding. The narrator panicked, but no matter what he did, she would not leave. The Djinn Bride continued to chant her unholy vows, growing angrier as time went on. Eventually, she disappeared and he escaped the house. Aftermath. After he left, the villagers told him that he was lucky to have escaped unharmed, but most people aren't so fortunate. Some never return. Others become trapped forever and only their names remain on the stones around the well, charred by fire. The narrator ended the story by saying that he still wakes up at 3 a.m. to the sound of dripping water and scratching. Sometimes he even sees that frog sitting in the corner of his room watching him, waiting for her to return. Discussion. The story of the Djinn Bride is a terrifying tale that showcases the dark side of Islamic folklore. The narrative describes the horrifying encounter of the main character with a malevolent jinn that takes the form of a bride. Throughout the story, the Djinn Bride uses manipulation and deception to lure her victims into a false sense of security. Her true form is revealed as she appears to the main character, showcasing the grotesque and disturbing nature of the entity. The story highlights the dangers of seeking supernatural help and the importance of heeding warnings from those who are knowledgeable in the ways of the supernatural. Overall, the Djinn Bride story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. What do you think about the Djinn Bride story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more content like this. Thanks for watching.